The coolest part about being a freelancer is that we actually control how much we make. And if you stop and think about that, it's pretty incredible because if you're like a normal person who has a day job at a company somewhere or working for someone else, you have a boss, and that means if you want to earn more money, there's a gatekeeper there, someone who is going to give you the stamp of approval or the stamp of rejection. As a freelancer, we don't have those limitations in place. Yes, you have to convince a client to actually pay you, but at the end of the day, you're the one that in control of how much you earn. And the minute you start to realize that, internalize that, and take action on that, you'll start to see your income skyrocket. So in this video, I want to give you 5 different ways that you can actually increase how much you earn as a freelancer. And the best part of this is that all 5 of these ways, every single one of these ways are 100% ethical. So if that sounds good, stick around. So if you're still watching this, I'm going to guess that you don't hate money, which is a good thing. It's good to have a healthy mindset around money. But there's actually 2 ways to make more money as a freelancer. I know I said 5, but let me actually elaborate here. There's only 2 fundamental ways. The first is get more clients. The second is charge more per client. That's really it. Like that's the 2 fundamental ways. At the end of your life, how much money you earned is going to be determined by how many clients you worked with, how much you charge per client, and then multiply those 2 numbers together, and that's your total lifetime earnings, or at least as a freelancer. But I'm going to break that down further because I'm not going to talk about finding more clients. I've got other videos on that. I've got other resources on that. We talk about that plenty on the 6-Figure Creative podcast. I've talked about it a few times on past videos. That's not what I'm going to cover here. I'm going to give you 5 different ways that you can actually charge more or earn more per client. Or the best way to say this is LTV, lifetime value. How much is of the value of a client throughout the lifetime that you have with that client. And there are 5 fundamental ways to do that, and that's what I'm going to cover in this video. Now, the first way, and this is the most basic, and I'm going to get this out of the way fast, is to raise your rates. That's a really easy way to increase the lifetime value of one client. And this is something that we're notoriously bad at as freelancers, especially as creatives, is that we undervalue what we are worth. Now, I've talked about this in the past, so I'm not going to elaborate any further on this, but there's a full video in the description below on why you should charge 10 times more for what you're doing right now. Now, when it comes to raising your rates, there's 2 really important things you need to understand. The first is you could simply just charge more for the exact same service that you're offering. And that's because we as freelancers, as creatives especially, we are terrible at pricing our services. We're notoriously bad at that. And we undervalue ourselves. And simply by raising what you're already charging for the service you're already providing, all you're doing is simply lifting yourself to the value you already provide. Now, if you are already at the value you provide, you're charging as much as you can for the value you provide as a freelancer, you have another option in order to raise your rates, and that is to actually increase the amount of value you bring to someone's life. That means revamping what you're offering, what sort of packages involved, what sort of things you're doing for them. But this leads to something really interesting, and that is to deliver 10 times the value to somebody, meaning you can charge 10 times the price for your services. It doesn't require 10 times the amount of effort. There's a very big difference between how much time, effort, and energy you put into something and how much value you create from it. Those are 2 totally different things. And when freelancers price based on the amount of hours they work, it is a fundamentally flawed way to price your projects. And we have tons of content on this podcast on the 6-Figure Creative. Go back and listen to the FreshBooks founder. We interviewed Mike McDermott, and he talked about how that's a flawed thing. And coming from somebody who's a billionaire, or I don't know if he's a billionaire. I think he's the CEO and founder of a billion-dollar business. I trust what he says. And he says pricing is a flawed model. So if you want to charge more for your services, think about it through the lens of how much value am I providing and how can I 10x the value I'm providing somebody without 10 times the amount of effort or energy or time involved in that project. But that's method number 1 for earning more, is to just raise your rates. And it's a very complex subject. It's something I will cover many times, and I have many times in the past. But let's move on to thing number 2. And this, actually, I'm going to cover 2 and 3 really quick because these sound very similar, but they are very different. Number 2 and number 3 are recurring services and reoccurring services. And this is something that often gets mixed up by people around me constantly. And it's a pet peeve of mine. So I'm actually explaining the difference between recurring and reoccurring. Recurring means something that happens on a regular basis. So monthly. So every single month you're getting paid by a client. Reoccurring means it happens over and over, but at an infrequent basis. So it reoccurs. It happens maybe once a year, then once every 6 months, and then they come back to you a month later, and then a year later. So that's the difference between reoccurring and recurring. That's number 2 and 3 on this list. Let me cover reoccurring first, and I'll explain what that means for you. So if you are trying to introduce reoccurring revenue to your business, that means you're getting a client to come back to you again and again and again. It's repeat clients. Most freelancers have this. The last time I did a poll in my community, it was about 50 to 70% of their clients every single year were clients that were coming back to them. They were reoccurring. It wasn't they were on a monthly retainer. That'd be recurring, which we'll get to in a second. But it meant that they were coming back to them again and again and again. And so when you're thinking through this from the perspective of lifetime value, how much am I going to get from this client throughout the lifetime that we have together? This is dead simple, duh type of thing. You get them to come back to you again, and now you're making more from that one client. And now that one client is no longer worth a couple $1,000s or a few $1,000s. They're worth $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 because they come back to you again and again and again and again and again. And the one way you make this happen is to deliver an incredible experience to them once they have paid you. It needs to be such a good experience that it would feel stupid not to work with you again if they ever need that service again. And to tie these things together, when you offer a really, really valuable service and you over-deliver on that service, that client will want to come back to you again and again and again. Now, the byproduct of that is also referrals. They will refer people to you constantly, which is what gets that word of mouth snowball rolling. But that's not the only way. Just over-delivering is not the way you get people to come back to you. Half the time, the reason you're not rehired for the same project a year later or 2 years later is because you're not top of mind when they need that service again. And this comes to something that very few freelancers do, and it's called nurturing. Now, you are being nurtured. Likely, if you're on my mailing list, that's an example of nurturing, is where I'm staying top of mind. I'm adding value to you over time by sending you YouTube videos that I create like this one, or by sending you episodes of the podcast, or sending you my thoughts, or if you're in a Facebook community, I'll post things that are on my mind, or I'll start conversations. This is all part of nurturing. And nurturing, in a nutshell, is one part adding value and one part staying top of mind. Now, you don't have to do it the same way that I do it. You don't have to be some sort of content creator like I am. You can simply check in with people one-to-one. Hey, Tim, how have you been? What's been new with you? How are the kids? This is just basic stuff. But if you fail to do this, if you fail to nurture, you fail to show genuine interest in people and stay in touch with people over time, even if you did a damn good job, you delivered an incredible experience to somebody. When it comes time to hire someone for the service you offer, if you're not top of mind, if someone else has swooped in over the years and become good friends with them and they're looking for that service again, they're going to hire their friend. Almost all the time. Because in the freelance world, rarely is the best person always hired. Rarely is that the case. It's actually the person who's top of mind as soon as the need is actually there. And that's important, and that's why nurturing is a huge part of reoccurring revenue and increasing the lifetime value of a client. So that's number two. First, again, let me recap here. First is raising your rates or charging more per project. The second way is reoccurring. How do you get someone to come back to you again and again throughout the lifetime of your time together? And the third, which is very similar, is recurring revenue. How can you get someone to pay you on a recurring basis, month after month after month? And some freelancers, this is just standard par for the course. You're going to have a monthly retainer. When they hire you for something, there's a reason for them to pay you every single month for the services that you offer. But some people, especially, this is me in my music production background, when I'm a music producer, it's not really something that lends itself well as a freelancer for a recurring service where I'm charging them monthly for something. So this is where you start having to think outside of the box. I'm going to challenge you here to just stop and think, what sort of thing can I offer someone on a monthly basis or a recurring basis on a regular schedule that is valuable enough for them to pay me? If you can make this sort of thing work, this can stack to a really, really good, stable revenue over time. It may mean that you're getting a big chunk up front to do the bulk of the services for somebody. This is big in the web design world. Web designers, they'll charge a big, huge upfront fee to create a website, and then a small monthly retainer to maintain that website. When something breaks, when something needs to be updated or whatever, they're on call, 7 days a week or 5 days a week or 9 to 5, whatever time. They're on call every single month to update or change things as need be. And again, that can add up. If you work with 25 clients a year and every year you're adding them to a retaining basis, now you have, in 4 years, you have 100 clients that are paying you a monthly retainer. And that's a pretty good amount of money. That's $10,000 a month if you're paying $100 a month as a retainer. So if you're struggling with this, or you just want a primer on like the basics of recurring revenue, there's a really good book I recommend called The Automatic Customer by John Warlow. The link to that will be in the description of this video below. But that's number 3, recurring revenue. And just to recap, number 1, raising your rates. Number 2, adding reoccurring revenue, getting clients to come back to you again and again. And then number 3 is adding recurring revenue. So getting someone to pay you a monthly retainer or some amount of flat monthly fee for your services. And the fourth thing, or the fourth method for earning more as a freelancer, is something called cross-sales, cross-selling. And this is simply taking the client you've already sold and delivered a service to and selling them on another service or another product that you offer. This is common in software and online education and courses and other things. Like this is pretty common on the internet and the internet marketing world, but this is less common in the freelance world. It's because people don't put the time, effort, and energy to think through what is the next logical thing that my client will need once they're done with this specific thing. Sometimes you can offer that service. Sometimes you can offer that product or create that thing that they will need. And sometimes it doesn't make sense because you don't have the talent and skill set involved. That doesn't mean they can't be making money off of that, though. We'll talk about the fifth way to do this in a second. This leads to the fifth thing. But the hardest thing to do is to sell a brand new client on you. To take someone that's a stranger and has never worked with you before and get them to hand over their hard-earned dollars. It's very difficult. And I actually have a whole mini course on how to sell. And if you want that, the link will be in the description below. I'm not going to really talk about that right now. But the thing that's really interesting is once you've sold someone, they've already given you money. It's really easy to sell them again on something. If you delivered a good service, you delivered a good value to them, in order to get them to come over to some other thing that you offer, it's relatively easy, and people never do this. They don't take the trust and effort they've built up with somebody and use that to sell them on something else that they genuinely need. Now, there's one important thing here, and that is don't try to advertise that you offer all services on earth. This is a common thing. It's that a freelancer will make a website and they say, we offer all services to all people. And if you do that, I guarantee you will fail. The best freelancers, the best ones that are most successful say, we offer this specific thing to this specific type of person. So it's a specific service or specific outcome, even better, to a specific type of person. That doesn't mean, however, you can't offer other services. That just means that that's not the core thing that you provide, the core thing you're selling to someone. You can offer other services, but you're doing a thing called the foot in the door technique. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I call it. That's where you are selling someone on a service that you know you can sell to someone, you know they need it, you know it's easy to sell relatively. You're getting your foot in the door. And it could even be something that's relatively cheap, something that's not a huge investment for someone, just to say, like, get them to raise their hand that they're interested and they're your ideal type of client. And then you're cross-selling them to something that's maybe higher ticket, something a little more expensive. That's something they also will absolutely need, but you're already done all of the hard work of getting them to hand over their credit card to you the first time in order to get them over to this other service. It's not as much of a slog as trying to sell someone brand new on that. So think through in your business, what are other services that are very similar or does it require a ton of time or effort or energy to build up? What are these other services that you have the skill set for that you can offer your ideal client that you've already sold over here? So cross-selling, that is the fourth thing. And that leads us to method number five for earning more as a freelancer. And that's called affiliates. What is an affiliate? This is simply taking your client, again, the one you've already sold, and it's exactly like cross-selling, except you're not delivering on the service. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm a recording studio, which is my background, and I just finished producing a band, and that band is about to release new music. What is the next natural thing that they might need for their band? An easy answer is a music video. So am I going to start offering music video or videography services as a music producer? No, it's not in my wheelhouse. It's not in my skill set. So what will I do? I will take that client that I've already sold, I've already built trust with. I will go to a videographer or someone that offers music video services that I trust and I know will do a great job. And I will introduce the two and I will say, now kiss. And when they kiss, I will get a cutback from that. When they exchange money, I will get a 10% commission. It varies depending on who you're working with and what sort of profit margins they have. But when you're taking a client and sending them over to a service provider or another freelancer or an agency, you can typically see a 10 to 20% sort of referral back to you. Here's the cool thing. If you're sending them to a piece of software, which is really interesting when you think about it, your client will likely need some sort of tools or software. And if you can connect them with that software, you can get 20 to 30% on an ongoing basis for those software that you refer them to. I'll give you an example right now. I'm an affiliate for several pieces of software. One is called Pipedrive. My affiliate link, if you want to use it and get 30 days instead of 14 days, is pipedrive.studio. And that is a CRM. I'm not going to get into what that is, but here's the cool thing is I send people to them. They give me 30% recurring commissions on them. I'm also a customer, by the way. So this is not just me blindly referring people to something I don't believe in. I'm a customer. I get 30% recurring commissions for every single person that I send to them. And my last check from them was like $930 for 1 month. And that's an ongoing thing that I get every single month for them because I send them customers because it's something that I already believe in. And it's something that I know that my type of person already needs. So think through in your business, what software does my client need once they're done with my services? And that can be a really, really good thing. It's a slow build, but it can be a good thing long-term. And I have Other software I get more than $1,000 a month from just as an affiliate. And the final affiliate area that you can do is education. And the cool thing about education, like online courses, is commissions for affiliates are typically 50%. That means if you sell someone a $500 course or you refer someone who buys a $500 course, you get $250 back for that. And the beauty of the entire affiliate model is that you get to send someone somewhere where they're getting a lot of value and you're getting a commission on that value and you're doing none of the work. You don't have to fulfill anything. This is as close as you can possibly get to passive income as a freelancer. So think through, again, what sort of knowledge does my ideal client need to have once they are done with my services in order to ultimately reach the goal that they want? So back in the music production world, if I'm a music producer, I'm recording a band, I'm helping that band release new music. How do you release music in a way that gets heard? How do you market yourself as a band? There are plenty of courses and coaching programs and other services online that I can pair that artist with as an affiliate and get a commission from those people. And that can add up really, really fast. So think through this. All 5 of these things actually can vastly increase the customer lifetime value that you have with every single client that you close. And that means at the end of your life, you will have earned more money. Remember that equation I gave you earlier? The lifetime amount of money that you will earn as a freelancer, the total sum of everything you earn is how many clients you had multiplied by how much each client paid you. That's your total income. And that's one side of the equation increased because you've done these 5 things on each of your clients in order to increase the amount of value you bring to them, but also the amount of money you're earning per client. But what about the other side of that equation, getting more clients? This is just as important. If you're interested in this, I don't have time to go through it in this video, but I have a resource for you that you can use. I call it my 5x1 marketing method. There are actually 5 different pieces of the marketing equation that you need to have in place in order to get more clients. I have a resource for you for that. If you want it, just go to sixfigurecreative.com/marketing. And there's a whole guide on there for the 5x1 marketing method. That's what I call it. It's a thing that I created that helps walk creatives and freelancers through this whole thing and simplifies it in a way that's a lot easier to understand than a lot of marketing jargon kind of resources that are out there. So again, that resource is sixfigurecreative.com/marketing. And you can get that free resource, the 5x1 marketing method. So that's all I have for you on this video today. All 5 of those things are going to vastly improve your business, especially if you compare it with the 5x1 marketing method and get more clients. And that way you have both parts of the equation covered. You have really good LTV or lifetime value with all of your clients, and you have a lot of clients, which means at the end of your life as a freelancer, you will have earned a whole lot more money. And I don't know about you, but I think that most of us can do with a little bit more money or a lot more money. And hopefully this video and that 5x1 marketing method resource that I sent you to will be helpful in that. So thanks for watching. And remember, it takes more than passion if you want to make it as a 6-figure creative.